I'm Maya, and this is my demonstration of my circuit for Lab 7, Part B. Okay, so this is my circuit. I have here the function generator is hooked up to this row over here, so then the input comes over here to the anode of the diode. And that goes down. It's connected to this, the resistor and the capacitor, which are in parallel. Might be kind of hard to see because this is in the way, but these are in parallel. And then the resistor is grounded. And I have my oscilloscope set to measure the input at the diode and the output across the resistor. So first I'm going to show how the output when there is the capacitor, and then I'll get rid of the capacitor and show the output without it. Okay, so for the demonstration with the capacitor, I have this set to a 10 kilohertz sine wave with 5 volts peak to peak, and we can look at the input and see that that is in fact about 5 volts, what we would expect to see. And over here we can look at the output with the capacitor. Now we can see that the peak voltage is approximately 2 volts, and that follows what you would expect to see due to the voltage drop across the diode. Now, in my Tinkercad circuit, I can't, because Tinkercad has some limitations, I can't really measure the ripple voltage and be precise with it, so I measured that using my LT-SPICE simulation, which I show in my lab report. But just to show kind of how we would measure it here is look at the, I would put my cursor at the peak of the highest point here at the top, and then at the lowest point, and that across the two would be the ripple voltage. And I show my measurements for that in the lab using the LT-SPICE simulation. So now I'm going to demonstrate without the capacitor, so I'll remove that and then show that. Okay, so now I'm showing my the circuit without the capacitor, and we can see here I've removed it. Now we just have the diode and the resistor, and for this demonstration I'm applying a 10 kilohertz input sine wave, but with a 2 volts peak to peak amplitude. So we can look at the input here, and you can see that that is about 1 volt to the top, 2 volts peak to peak, as we would expect to see. And looking at the rectified output, it's going to be about a little over 0.5 volts is going to be the peak voltage there. And we can see that the peak of the output here is lower than the peak of the input, and that's what we would expect to see because there is a voltage drop across the diode before it gets to the resistor. We're measuring the output voltage across the resistor, so there's that voltage drop there, which we measured and recorded in part A of this lab. We're measuring the IV characteristics. So we can see that my circuit does function as expected with the capacitor and without.